This week, the fall foliage has reached peak colors. We've also been averaging 2,000 to 3,000 Canada geese commuting over the sanctuary. Someone asked me, how do you even count thousands of geese? Well, when the numbers are that large, it's a bit of an estimate, although an accurate one. For relatively small flocks like this, I count in groups of 5. Larger flocks, I'll count in groups of 20, and the huge flocks, I'll count by the hundreds. When in a group, other good counters should get similar estimates. Usually, you take the smallest estimate as long as they're close together. This is because you never want to overestimate the numbers you're seeing, especially if it's for scientific data. The number in this flock is about 70 geese by my count. One day, while standing in the high field counting the geese, we noticed these balloons floating by. Many plants utilize the wind for seed dispersal. I'm sure most people have seen the seeds of cottonwood floating by, or milkweed. Even small animals will float on the wind, such as baby spiders. When seeing these balloons, I wonder where it came from and where it will go. How many miles will it travel? Hundreds? Even thousands, maybe? The forest floor is carpeted with leaves. As these leaves decay, they will add a new thin layer of nutrient-rich soil. In much of the forest, sheltered from the wind and blocking the sunlight and falling into a torpor before the winter, almost has an eerie feel to it. As most plants lose their green chlorophyll, the underlying colors are unmasked, revealing reds and oranges and yellows. But this is not the case with all plants. Many have no underlying colors to be masked and just turn a ghostly white. This is a New York fern, a sensitive fern, and the leaves of a striped maple. Toward the end of the week, it rained for about 2 days straight. This filled the streams higher than they've been for a long time. In fact, I found a red-backed salamander in the stream, which is unusual because they're typically terrestrial. The rains also filled up the beaver ponds to the max capacity and left a lingering fog. With most of the foliage gone, we could really see how prolific our tower of grapes was this year. But of course, the birds already knew this. Matt usually spends a lot of time waiting on the beavers, but not lately. They've been coming out this week around 2:30 in the afternoon. It is typical for them to change the hours of the day in which they are most active. Sometimes it's at night, sometimes it's in the morning, and we're lucky when they choose to be active in the afternoons. It is likely that they do this in order to be less predictable to predators such as coyotes.
More stuff in for this one, and then we could
The
go.
less predictable they are, the less likely they will be preyed upon.
This is Jules. I don't know why I didn't recognize it.
Usually they take their food and run, but every now and then they sit down and enjoy the meal. It can be easy to forget the struggle for life that all animals face, no matter how small or primitive. It is easy to never think that worms can feel pain and terror, or to not think of leeches as formidable predators with an appetite that must be fed. But it is clear that their hungers and desires and fears and pains are as real as our own. These two animals are in the same phylum, Annelida. Being annelids, both have segmented bodies and are hermaphroditic and have a few other bodily structures in common, but otherwise they are not closely related. The smaller worm that is attacking is the leech. Leeches are a diverse family with around 700 different species. They are most often identified by their different mouth parts and the pattern of their eye spots. The vast majority of leeches live in freshwater habitats, but some live in marine habitats, and others, such as this one, are terrestrial. All leeches possess two pairs of suckers, one at the posterior end, which is used for feeding, and another at the anterior end, which is used for clinging to surfaces. Aquatic leeches swim through the water by undulating in a vertical fashion rather than from side to side. And terrestrial leeches move very similarly to inchworms. Although most leeches are more typical predators, swallowing up prey that are smaller than themselves, there are a fair number of leeches, such as this one, that live up to their reputation as being bloodsuckers. I have to admit, as fascinating as it was watching this event unfold, I was a bit disturbed, even though I know everybody's gotta eat. This rabbit looks like it's had its struggles also. The raggedy ear and blind eye probably indicates old injuries from a fight with another rabbit. It is likely that the fight was over territory disputes or breeding rights. Luckily, the injuries healed up well, and the rabbit seems to be doing fine. This deer did not fare so well. However, the crowns of the teeth seemed pretty worn down, suggesting that the deer lived to a mature age. This yellow birch had a wedge cut out of it at some point. For some reason, whoever cut it decided not to finish the job. Since then, the tree has healed over nicely. This is the skeleton of a cicada that has beat the odds and reached adulthood. This was the final molt before becoming a winged adult and setting off to breed. Of course, we had many more mushrooms this week. This one is black witch's butter. And here's another type of jelly mold, perhaps another witch butter of some sort. This coral fungus we did not notice until we had already kicked it up and smashed it from under the leaves. It appears that perhaps it is from the genus Ramaria. And this is the violet-branched coral. Although, to me, it seems to be more of a shade of rosy pink. There's plenty of this green-stained fungus around. These green elf cups are the fruiting bodies of the green stain. They've been sprouted for over a week now. This hemlock varnish conch is impressively large, perhaps 1.5 feet wide. And on the same tree, we still see the scars of one from last year, and its remnants on the ground. Here is a mossy maize polypore, although the green is actually algae, not moss. When I first saw this one, I thought it was a turkey tail growing on top of another fungus. But the more I examine it, the more I think that that is wrong. So, I'm not sure what this is. Here is a clubfoot Clitocybe. Perfectly edible as long as it is not consumed with alcohol. I'd stay clear of this one. And of course, there's plenty of more mysteries to be solved. And that wraps up another great week at the sanctuary.